It's time for Q&A in the Kitchen. It's a podcast and YouTube series where tattoo artists and piercer talk about some of the more common questions or topics that people who collect tattoos and piercings may have. Brought to you by Skin Kitchen Tattoo and Axiom Body Piercing. Well, the crew today is the regular crew, the motley crew, the crew, the mammoth crew,
the crew that do.
The crew that do.
We do it.
And we're doing it with a D and an O. Not a DW.
Not a DEW.
Not a DEW.
It's just
no Mountain Dew.
It's your basic DO.
Starting over here with Jimmy St. John.
What up, y'all?
Yeah.
Tattoo artist at the Skin Kitchen. Directly next to me is Jack Lowe, owner and operator of the Skin Kitchen.
Howdy.
I'm DaVo, body piercer and owner of Axiom Piercing. And then we got Brent Starr over here.
That's me.
Tattoo artist from the Skin Kitchen. And what we're going to talk about today is the worst tattoo or piercing advice you've ever heard.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is a multitude of different ideas on what's the best thing to do. Just the first one that, out of all the ones I could, the first one that comes to my mind is to use Vaseline.
Oh, yeah. Coated in Vaseline.
Yeah,
that'd be the worst.
And, there wasn't as much known, not only of just, medicine-wise back then, but tattooing, it was so sparse and spread out, so you didn't have a big community of artists that could talk together online, They all got a little snippet of something from their buddies.
And it was so secretive, too.
So
well, even when you give aftercare instructions, the customers 9 times weren't listening.
Yeah.
Like I had a guy call in one shop. We used to wrap them with saran wrap, leave it covered for an hour or until you get home, take it off, wash it, blah, blah, blah. And this dude called up and he was like, man, how long do I leave the plastic wrap on? It's been like 3 weeks and it's starting to smell. I'm like, you should go to the doctor.
Oh, my goodness.
That's crazy. He had left the wrap on for like 3 weeks. I was like, oh, man.
Baked in that infection.
Oh.
And not only did they not have a lot of knowledge, or as much knowledge, we'll say, about how skin reacts and heals during a tattoo process, but they didn't have as many products to help them, heal something. It was very, the Vaseline was kind of a coverall thing, and maybe they were thinking that'll kind of protect it, keep it from drying out.
A little too good, though.
But all it does is sit on your skin. It's a petroleum-based product, so it's a very oily. It stays around a while, which can be okay in certain applications. But with a tattoo, you don't want to smother it under this, grease.
It blocks the flow of oxygen.
It's got to breathe.
Do you remember when people put A&D on them?
And it collects every little droplet of dirt floating around in the air, and it just makes a magnet out of it because it stays greasy and wet all day. So, and there's other reasons it's bad too. So, I used to hear that a lot, back in the day, in my first 5-8 years or so in the business. That was, so I just put Vaseline on it. No. But that's probably done a lot of tattoos, a lot of harm over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I first started getting tattooed, it was petroleum jelly or it was A&D.
A&D was and that's not a good idea.
And it was always slathered on.
Yes.
It never
more
just like
Burt
lightly
Reynolds
applied.
what is it, striptease? When they put all the Vaseline all over him, it was like, squishy and stuff. Like, why do you do this? I got squishes in my boots.
More is not necessarily better in this deal.
And they would usually tell you to just smother it on there.
Yep. And now we got the derma film and all that good stuff. It kind of idiot proofs it almost.
It does.
Like
in a way, you
you're
can
at the flaky zone.
Yeah, but there's still kind of, I've been learning since I've been using it for, several months now. It's pretty much every time I bandage a tattoo, I do that. Mm-hmm. It's just so easy, and there's so many benefits to it at the same time that it's almost like, why would you not use it?
Right.
But there is still kind of an art form, I think, of knowing, not only on our side, how long to tell them to leave it on, depending on where the tattoo is and what type of tattoo it is and everything else. But it's kind of on them knowing kind of how to read what's going on under that bandage and knowing when the sweet spot or the good time is to take it off. And then you've got the factor of it could just come off. It is sticky stuff, but there are times, I don't know if it's client to client, where their skin might be produce more oils or something like that. But so there is, it's it's not foolproof, but it's the closest thing we have, and it's such a big jump and takes so many factors out of those critical first 3 to 4 or 5 days. It takes that completely out of the equation. You don't have to worry about abrasions or shirts or pants rubbing. It keeps all the bad stuff out and the good stuff in. Let your body get to work. So it's pretty damn close.
And being a volunteer guinea pig, we found out that you don't expose it to sunlight directly for long periods of time.
Yeah, we've been learning along the way.
You don't leave it on for more than like a week because it gets real dark and it will not light back. Stuff like that.
Well,
Thank
and
you for
that's
your
kind
sacrifice.
of, and that's the learning curve on our side to go, okay, this is black and gray. I want it to heal about in this range. So you know what? 2 days, take that off, wash it, and if you still feel it's, kind of got some more healing to do, or if you can, come in or send me a picture and
we'll go from there.
I'll say whether or not to put that second piece I gave you. I'll do that a lot. If it's in a spot where it's just kind of in the way, and the stuff I use, it's usually got about a 3-day sticky life.
Yeah,
and it's very sheer, so it'll kind of start coming off in pieces if you leave it on much more than that. So I'll give them another piece. If it's a really heavily saturated tattoo and kind of a tricky area, I'll do that. So there is kind of an art to it too.
Will you give them a piece, like send them home with a piece to reapply?
Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Right. It kind of gets like the edge of a, like anybody, you've had anything taped for a long period of time and it starts getting kind of that blacky, gross look on the edge.
Go to get a little red and irritated too sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't. But the cool thing is it breathes in a way to where it doesn't like waterlog or saturate or make it a swamp. It doesn't swamp your skin out.
What I was talking about is how it starts peeling off.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how it starts.
When it starts. Yeah, it pretty much, if you time it right and you use it right, you skip that part too.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just take off the wrapper and it's done for the most part.
Yep.
You'll use some lotion on it for a while just because your skin is rejuvenating and it needs a little extra and it'll help it along. But other than that, it really kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Okay. Next.
I remember, and I don't know who did the tattoo, and this would have been the late 80s. But it was on a friend of mine, and he got like it was kind of a punk rock skinhead tattoo. It was a Nosik front tattoo of 2 Doc Martin boot prints. And the guy that did it told him, like he called up and goes, "It's scabbing a lot." And he goes, "What you need to do is fill your bathtub up with as hot a water as possible and then soak it in there."
Oh man.
Soak a healing tattoo is probably one of the worst.
The worst things you can do.
Yeah, it literally just it turned into a bloody mess.
No, you can certainly do that right after, like within a day. Japan, a lot of times I think it is that they tell you to take a sauna or a
Steam bath.
A spa, like a tub, like a bubble tub, one of those jacuzzi, set in a hot bath. I don't know what they believe, if it somehow sets the ink or somehow just cleans it really well, but you can do that within a day. But once you start, your body starts making that protective scab, that protective layer. If you waterlog it, it's going to fill up with that water, and then when it dries out, it's going to fall off too soon, and the skin underneath is not ready to not have something protecting it, and then that's when you do a lot of damage.
It's a disaster usually.
Well, I know I heard that when I was in Japan, but like what their idea was is when you're fresh tattooed within that first 24 hours, since we didn't have a derma scan and stuff at the time to hold that plasma and whatnot in the healing part of your body that's oozing, the idea was to, instead of letting that make a big huge cookie scab, if you wash that really good with super hot water and got all that off, then you could put like a layer of moisturizer on it, and it would heal thinner and faster instead of being heavy like cookie scabbed and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'll usually, back before the stickers, sticker stuff we use now, as I affectionately call it, that was kind of what I'd tell people. It's usually you can get away with watching it for the first few days. Kind of depends again on the type of tattoo, where it was, if you push the skin to its max, or it went in just flawlessly and you can't believe you're finally that good, and then you screw up the next one. But I would tell them, kind of wash it for as long as you can get away with it. Once you start seeing, if there starts getting any spots, that are kind of starting to get, protect itself and whatever, then keep it clean, but don't actively wash it. It is a fine line of keeping it clean but not hurting it.
Once you let it get dry enough to scab, it's scabbed.
Yeah,
That's
it's usually
what
I'd
you're
say
got.
first few days wash it a couple times a day.
Yeah.
And then after right around that third, fourth day is when you're going to kind of start seeing it, shelling up or getting that protective layer. It's probably 90 times out of 100 or more. Thankfully, my tattoos will heal just like a sunburn with a very like a light flake. But there are those people that heal rougher. But as long as you don't screw it up, the scab, the healing process, as long as you don't get in your body's way, it'll heal up just as fine as anything else.
And I think that's a lot of the problem is just kind of, the client is a little impatient or they kind of get in their own way. And, they want to take a good care of, the tattoo or piercing and they kind of overdo it. And
that's usually when people like over apply a product, whatever they're using, is they think, well, I got to keep this thing lubed up. And that's not the case.
It's the philosophy that if, that that's why I know a few drug addicts. If one works, 15 are going to work even better. And it's the same with piercing. If you, cleaning more than a couple times a day is only going to prolong the overall healing period.
Yeah, because your body is...
Part of it is it produces that discharge to get rid of waste and et cetera, but it also is in the initial week or so, it's also to kind of trap the blood in and keep the things out.
Right, protects it.
It's like a scab. So if you're constantly cleaning that off of there,
Don't
then your
pick
body's
at it.
going, hey, wait a second. What did you just... Now I got to do that all over again?
Took me all night to do that, man.
You know what? We just spent all day making that wall. You come in here, you knock it over, you set my guys back, and you're going to be mad at the end of the day when we ain't got it done on time.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, there might be some freaking scar tissue here. I don't know. We'll play it out. It's up to you, big guy. Yeah, something like that.
So why don't we just go through the list? We might as well just go through the list of bad products. We've got petroleum jelly, A&D ointment, Neosporin.
No, God.
No.
It says right on the tube, do not use on puncture wounds. Tattoos are punctures. Yep.
Yeah, that's piercing. And then all this stuff will pretty much relate to piercing, too.
Antibiotic. I've had a lot of people mention...
triple antibiotic?
I put it triple antibiotic stuff. No.
Bacitracin and zinc.
Nope.
Listerine. I remember that was a thing for a month or two.
For tongue piercings, I remember that.
Oh, for tongue piercings.
No, I remember people like, oh, yeah, you just spray it on there.
Oh, weird.
I can't remember what shop it was, and I'm like, what?
I've seen it used as a soap or a cleansing, product
in
while you're tattooing, but not as an aftercare.
It's like, what I could always think is like, I knew, like Sherry used to use it as a to clean off.
Yeah, it's like green soap. She would use it.
Yep. And then I think it's just this logic. Well, if it works during the tattoo, it probably will work afterwards.
Yeah, but you want two different responses from whatever you're putting on the tattoo at those two different times. Yeah,
exactly.
you want to clean it and cleanse it and wash it off so I can see what I'm doing. But then after you want to moisturize it and protect it, but not
dry it out and agitate it.
Not attract dirt and grub. So yeah, people are pretty funny.
Peroxide is horrible.
Peroxide, witch hazel, mineral oil.
Yep.
I don't know why anybody do that. I did have somebody that said that somebody had told them to use olive oil. Which I'm not quite sure how that would work.
I think this is crazy. Like I said, 90 times out of 100, it's going to heal fine and not get a big heavy scab. Yeah. So really, if you used a really small amount of maybe olive oil or whatever, as long as your hands are clean and the olive oil is a good olive oil that's not old or you scratched it off someone's pasta.
Yeah, it's not rancid.
That will moisturize your skin. And if
I
you
know
don't
people, they actually soak in it for their hands and stuff. So that kind of made sense, but I'm a little leery of...
But this is the deal, and it always cracks me up. You'll say, okay, use this for this long. Well, can I use this?
Yeah.
Just
I get that all the time.
Use this.
I told you.
I don't know if coconut milk out of from wherever will work. I haven't used it.
Yeah.
I haven't had 30 years involved in that.
But it's Tahitian cocoa.
Right.
It's shea butter.
Yeah,
shea butter was a big thing for a long time.
Shea butter.
Coconut oil, shea butter.
Aspirin Paste.
Aspirin paste. That's a big thing with piercings. Oh, you got a bump? Well, put aspirin paste on it.
Yeah.
It'll destroy that bump, but that ain't gonna stop the bump from coming back.
And it'll stop from AFib maybe, but
Depends on how many you've eaten.
Alcohol.
Yeah, rubbing alcohol is a big one.
That's horrible.
It is amazing because they always do that. It's like I'll go, we sell this for $10 a can. Nelmed, it's sterile saline. I can't tell you how much easier this is. Comes out in a fine mess is $10, or you can find it at Walgreens or any drug stores and stuff like that. You can find sterile saline in a fucking can. And they'll go, can I just mix that up at home?
If you have a sterilizer, maybe.
Or the other one is
the sea salts. Remember that?
Is that the same as that we did sea salt for a long period of time? They'll say, is saline? You mean the stuff I use for my contacts?
No.
Yeah, they're
Not
two
the
different
same
things.
thing.
They're two different things. Medical grade soaps is a big one, and
What do
I
you
think the Hibiclens
to use as a
cleaner for both piercings and
tattoo.
It would have dried
just
it
put
out
some
quite a
Comet
bit.
with bleach on it and scrub it with a
it's clean.
Brillo pad, and it'll be fine.
And it wasn't mentioned. It was mentioned not to use, but the reason why you don't want to use like a triple antibiotic is one, it's got a bunch of funky stuff in there that more people are going to be allergic to.
Yeah.
So it raises the chances that you're going to have allergic reaction. You got away with putting 42 colors in your arm, but when you were healing it, you put a cream on there that has a chemical in it or a compound in it that your body hates, and now you screwed up your tattoo when you didn't have to, because there's other things that that don't have the possibility of triggering those types of problems.
Exactly.
And additionally, here's the thing and this is how the industry's changed, both piercing and tattooing. Is we learned, like at the very beginning, everything we did for aftercare, at least with piercing, very much so, by that time tattooing had kind of evolved, was to fight off the possibility of infection. We had to do everything to kill everything. It didn't take into account that you have an immune system, and that you have a colony of bacteria that in other microorganisms that actually live on your skin that help protect you against an infection. Right. So a lot of things you're introducing are killing off that colony of bacteria and introducing an area where invaders can come in and go, hey, fine eating here.
You keep knocking down the frickin' walls here.
Exactly.
You're working against yourself.
All the defense you had, you killed.
You want a scar? You want a scar? That's how you get a scar.
And most of the antibacterial ointments, creams, salves, soaps, etc., kill good bacteria.
Everything.
It's like a nuclear weapon. It isn't precision. It just kills everything.
It carpet bombs the whole area.
Yes.
We're not leaving anything alive. We're killing everything.
Yep.
Good, bad, ugly.
And with the petroleum-based stuff, part of the reason why it's petroleum-based is ease of putting it on.
Application.
But it's also the petroleum starves the oxygen and
smothers
other things. It makes it hard for it to reproduce.
And all kinds of dirt in the world
so
to it.
It's going to leave that film that not only is going to slow down foreign pathogens from reproducing, but also the colony that lives on the surface of your skin.
And that's exactly why Lubriderm is the best thing I found. And it was kind of by accident. I had gotten tattooed. I was, it's getting a little dry. I need something. I looked around. That's what was there and used it. And it worked so good. I was like, damn.
For a while, they were putting in their bottles number one tattoo lotion.
Right. Because
Sherry flat out told me to just use hand lotion.
Yeah. And I've been using hand lotion forever, but Lubriderm specifically as a hand lotion, it adds moisture to your tattoo and it goes away.
Yeah, it doesn't have that weird film.
There's no sticky, wet, greasy residue on there if you apply it correctly. I twice a day is really all I have to use that stuff, and it's great. Before, like more watered down type of lotions, not only would they wouldn't absorb very well, and they would leave that kind of wet, hey, dirt, come here, we're having a party, kind of sticky surface left over. And I use that stuff and I haven't looked back. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, it's the same way with go ahead.
A lot of people like to use Aquaphor because it's heavier and it's more breezier type, like an A&D. And I mean, it's okay for some people, but just like you're saying, I like the Lubriderm because it dried up, it went away, it didn't leave a film.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Aquaphor is
good stuff.
Is great stuff too. It's real good.
But after you put it on,
it's kind of greasy.
For about 10 minutes.
It's harder to use. Right. It's harder to get the right amount, but then again, there's like 20 or 30 different types of Lubriderms now. So, with this, with shea butter, with, aloe, with everything else.
And that's one of the reasons I was going to, is the fact that there's none of that stuff scented.
Yeah, it's got to be non-scented.
And that's great about Aquaphor.
Every other lotion out there has some kind of weird scent to it.
And if you don't know anything scented, the base of it is alcohol.
It's not going to.
And you don't want to put alcohol on anything.
Perfume has
dry out.
Like, if you ever, when you were a kid, think that perfume might taste as good as it smells.
No, I never was that stupid.
It's kind of like that. Just because it smells good,
the
closest I ever came to that was I was looking. As my grandmother hid caramels. And I got into her cupboard and found this big jar of all these foil wrappings on it and thought, oh, wow, caramels, I found them. And it turned out to be bunion cube.
Oh,
I found
yeah.
out about 5 seconds
The
too later.
bouillon. You got bouillon.
I got bouillon. Yeah.
I had a babysitter that had, she baked a lot. She did wedding cakes and all kinds of stuff and catered. And she would buy that baking chocolate. It's non-sweet. You know what I'm talking about?
Semi-sweet
Yeah.
chocolate.
Oh, dude, I thought I had found the jackpot one day. And I went to eat some of that crap and it was horrible.
I think most people, most kids have had to fall into that. Like,
Yeah,
find
yeah,
the
at
baking
least
chocolate,
once.
the cooking
Yeah,
chocolate,
I
and
did.
it's just bitter as all get out.
Well, I got the perfume by accident. Mom, I'd come to the bathroom behind Mom and I'm talking.
Oh, yeah.
And she's spraying perfume on it. I get a mouthful. I'm like,
Yeah, it's not as good as
it's not good. It's like Aquanet. It's horrible.
Might want to avoid those pierced and tattooed areas with
Yes.
that stuff. It's not going to be nice.
Yeah.
Not friendly.
It's not going to be nice.
I think more than anything else, the worst advice for piercing and tattooing both is anything that increases the amount of contact you have with said tattoo or piercing.
That's why that twice a day thing is a huge bonus because you don't have to F with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always wash your hands first before you handle your stuff. And like if you got your belly button pierced, you're like, I'm not touching it. You're touching near it, and germs move. They're mobile. They don't just stay stationary.
Exactly.
Dude. So quit touching anywhere near it without washing your hands.
And it's like I watched somebody. This is about, I don't know who it was. It was at a bar actually. So it had been last summer because they were wearing a T-shirt, and they had it was just nice shiny new tattoo here, and they kept scratching all around it the whole night because they knew they couldn't scratch the tattoo, but they were scratching around it to kind of stimulate it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good way to get an infection.
Yeah.
Your dirty ass fingernails, leaving all that bacteria and everything else all around there.
Yeah. A better thing to do is wash your hands and then, excuse me, and then lightly pat, kind of smack or slap the area lightly, and that will stimulate that kind of satisfaction of itching it. But you're not. You have way less you're way less likely to disturb
Like the girls
your
with
scabs.
weave.
That doesn't mean that you should slap it hard.
No. Lightly so you don't,
just tap
come
it.
on.
Pat.
Not like it owes you money or anything.
Yeah,
kind
not like it's
kind of a straight up and down technique because you don't want
You
to,
don't want to
Scrape,
push or
yeah.
scrape the scabs off. But
glance it.
piercings itch too, but there's not really any remedy other than just deal with it. Usually it's the histamines. Even though I'm not a medical doctor, though I play one on TV.
Nice.
I always
Nobody watches that
like
show.
one possibility is an antihistamine will help a little bit. If it's nose piercings, then like blowing into like a cup of water, like in your hand, will sometimes get rid of that itchiness. But beyond that, no.
Take a Benadryl and pass out.
You can still kind of like pat around the area for piercings, just be gentle.
Just don't hit it.
Yeah.
It's just saying, I've never had that itching with piercings. I don't
neither.
understand. I guess I'm not wired that way.
what about dry healing?
I've done it to myself. I don't recommend it for the usual average customer.
Because I'd have clients come in every now and then and say, "Oh, the last guy said just don't do anything."
I've
Yeah,
had people do that, and I think some skin types just naturally can get away with that, and most of us can't.
So if they're more greasy,
Yeah, if they're a greasy son of a bitch.
Yeah, I don't know what the.
If you can stand it to get
greasy.
really heavy scabbed and resist
Yeah.
the urge to pick at it because they want to see what it looks like or mess with it, then great. But 99.9% of us cannot do that.
Well, see, I was always too paranoid that if I picked at it, it'd just destroy the tattoo.
And it does. Well, I think the reason maybe people tell their clients that, or particular artists do, is because they know their work and they know how their work heals. Yeah. They know what they just did, and they're confident enough to go, yeah, just keep it clean, keep it out of the sun and everything. But really, you don't have to do much. It'll just do its thing. Might not be that bad of a way to go. The only reason I always tell my Lubriderm or my and it is Aquaphor that fucking rules. Lubriderm's great too, but Aquaphor is the jam. So anyway, the reason I tell them to do that, it's more of a safety net because it's not going to hurt it.
Yeah.
But if you do heal rough, if you are, a long healer, if you, just got over being sick and your body's not quite ready to fight your heat, then that's going to help and make it more comfortable to where you're less likely to itch it.
Yeah. That's a big part is it does make it more comfortable.
Right.
Because when you're dry healing, it's going to be... It's going to be like, it's middle of winter.
You're more likely to pick at it. And
and you've been out in the cold the whole time and your hands, crack and that whole thing. That's what it's going to be like. So...
Yeah.
Put some lotion on it.
Not for the faint of heart.
I'll have lazy
lotion on its skin.
I'll have lazy clients come back from time to time and say, "Yeah, I didn't do anything."
Yeah,
and it healed great.
Yeah,
and some people tend to have their technique or whatever produces maybe a longer healing period, maybe more scabbing. That's not wrong. Like I said, as long as it just takes it's just a little harder and takes a little more work to get it to heal great. It just opens up the window of you can fuck this up now.
Well, I covered it with mud.
Yeah,
and I wrapped it in corn.
Smeared some baby poop out of the diaper on it. Let the cat scratch it when it itches.
Because like David was saying, you already have stuff that's going to heal you.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for that. As long as you're not giving your body too much to fight, or if your immune system in some way for some reason isn't quite up to snuff, I guess we want to give you that safety net and give you a less likelihood of scratching it and itching it because it's uncomfortable.
And the biggest thing people need to remember with both forms of aftercare is the part that you're told what to do and what you need to do is usually about a quarter of an inch to an inch. The part about everything you don't want to do fills up at least a page and a half. So it's more about not doing than it is about doing.
That's very true.
And a lot of times when I'll go through like my the consultation before a piercing, you can tell these people like, oh God, there's going to be so much work. And I will notice this in them and I'll go, here's the deal. You just got to clean twice a day and just practice some common sense.
Yeah. And I don't know for sure if you have it, so I have to cover the stuff that could really mess it up that honestly someone could just not think of.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It triggers things that they normally don't think of.
Yeah.
Like, oh, crap, I'm going on vacation next month. That kind of stuff. So, yeah.
It's kind of a blanket all possibilities as much as you can without detrimentally, without adding any detriment to the healing.
Because we've all done piercings and tattoos and like you're halfway through it and they're like, so is like a swimming pool going to bother this? I'm like, you can't get in for 2 weeks. Oh, I'm leaving tomorrow for like the Bahamas. I'm like, well, you're not going to swim at the beach.
I've gone through it during the consultation, did the piercing, and then gave them the aftercare, and then they called me 2 hours later to ask.
Yeah.
Well, because they were so attentive. Yeah. I like when you go out in the parking lot and there's like littered with all the aftercare sheets that we make, and they're just everywhere where they've dropped them off on the way to the car to the parking lot.
I haven't noticed that here, but
no, here it doesn't do that. But
I have seen it happen, and there is the occasional one, and whether they walked off with it or dropped it, but it's more important to some people and it's less important to others. I have some people that almost have this religious relationship with their tattoos and they're their favorite thing in the world. And then I've had other clients that are just kind of like they're buying a shirt. It's cool. I love it. It's neat, but I'm not that invested to it. I don't spend that much of my mental time, I guess, thinking about it. It's just a thing.
And I think part of that,
which is fine.
Part of that comes with the experience of getting tattooed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people learn after they've gotten one or two, and the same thing with piercings, that they need a little more attention than maybe everybody else does.
Yeah.
And everybody heals differently, and that kind of we give you a foundation to work off of. So like with some people, you need a little extra babying, you need a little extra isolation, you need a little extra that and this and avoiding this. While other people, it's like, oh, I went out and I'm a pro wrestler and
I got this.
I went soon, I went and did this and I stayed up for 4 days and blah 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 and it healed perfectly.
Yeah,
and it's really only a problem if at the end of the day you come back and go, hey, this didn't heal very well.
Yeah.
And the other side is that you're going to tell everybody that I did that, and then you did some things that more than likely hurt what that thing looks like. So you're kind of making it harder for me to make a living because you didn't care,
Yeah. You didn't put the effort in.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, that's why we kind of make sure to, have this proven method, at least as far, because it changes artist to artist, because people work different. They know their work. They know their healing. Evolves. And they're more likely, they're going to stand. If look at it this way, it's like when you buy anything and it has a warranty, as long as you don't take a shit in it and it breaks,
change,
but if you took a shit in it and then you bring it back and you're upset at the person,
right?
It's like, come on, man. Yeah. So we're just trying to go, hey, if you do it this way and then you come back, not only am I way more likely to help you out and to fix you up, but you're teaching me that this method might need some work.
Right.
No, I did what you said, but it did this and it did that. Yeah. And then I can go, okay, if he's doing the same thing everybody else did, I did use that new ink that I got. And that's where a lot of I'm going to keep an eye on that and I'm going to do some more research, It helps us get better and get that healing refined and get something that's almost foolproof and is going to give you the best result.
And I don't know about you guys, but I usually tend to, like, when I'm changing anything in aftercare, I usually try it out on clients that actually I have a relationship with.
That's the best.
I guinea pig on myself
and I know they're the type of people that if there's a problem, they'll get back to me right away. Instead of just unleashing it on the general public.
Yeah, and that's a great way to do it, And it comes down to even techniques or something. Oh, yeah, that was the one where I was trying, I had my machine set up this way to try to do this, and that this was the result. Okay, boom, now I can adjust and try to improve that. Yep. But only if, you took care of it and the right way and the same way, then that takes out a factor.
Yeah.
So... And no, like I said, if you screwed it up, hey, that's okay. I know there's things that more important, or you're new at this. Fine, I'll fix you up, but let's get better next time, kind of thing. Or go, I fucked it up.
Yep.
It looked beautiful, but I fucked it up. That still sucks when you tell people who did it, but more than likely you're going to know that you fucked it up, and most people are going to tell them, it did look better. I was rough on it.
And you figure out, and they're going to be happy to figure out a way to fix it for you.
Because we want it to look great.
Yeah.
You don't come in going, hey, man, you fucked this up. Like, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I went out and welded, and there's all these spots right here.
I laid out on the beach for like 14 hours with no sunblock on. I mean, it's got blisters on it. What did you do? Like, I didn't do anything, dude. You baked yourself.
Yeah, and most artists will know.
Yeah, we can tell.
We can kind of tell.
Most know, they've done thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of tattoos.
Yep.
And they've seen thousands and thousands of tattoos healed.
Yep.
And they know the ones that were taken care of, or the ones that you picked at, or the ones that you dry healed,
That was more of a thing at the walk-in shops a lot, the street shops.
Yeah.
Like people come in and they'd be like, the tattoo's perfect. And like one little spot where you knew it was going to scab heavy or whatever. Oh, the ink fell out right there. Did you pull the scab off?
Yeah.
Well,
see, that's the thing.
That's
is
a
like,
yes.
Yeah, you get to a point where
that's where you pulled the scab off. I can see the little star pattern. Like I can see it.
I had this guy. His name. I won't say his name, but anyway, I knew him well, and he was kind of a little shit. We would tease around a lot, and he was just kind of a man's man kind of dude and a little rowdy. So anyway, he comes back after, and this was back in the age of Old English lettering. Mm-hmm. So I did some Old English lettering across his bicep, and he comes in, and he's like, "Hey man, I don't know what's up, but man, that thing fell out, man. I don't know what's going on." And so I took a look at it. I go, "He freaking picked it." He goes, looks at me like, no, I didn't, and swore up and down. I'm like, you freaking picked it. So anyway, I redo it, and I go, don't pick it this time. Ran into him a few months down the road, probably at some bar, and he comes up to me, buys me a drink, and he's like, man, I don't know how you knew, but I picked the shit out of that tattoo.
Yeah, we can tell.
I had a lady come in one time, and she's like, I don't know what's wrong with this. it's not healing right. And this was probably about 2 weeks. It should be pretty much done healing by this point.
Yeah.
And it was like this little fairy that was on her forearm. She definitely picked at it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, so you haven't scratched or picked at it at all, right?
Oh,
and
no.
she's like, no. And as I'm trying to like figure out a time to book her for a touch up, in a couple more weeks, based on how it's healing, she's absent-mindedly when I'm like asking her questions. She starts rubbing it and then picking at it. And I was like, what are you doing right there? And she's like, oh no. Oh, I was just doing that. Yeah, I was just like,
busted.
But yeah, I went ahead and just scheduled it anyway because I wanted to look good.
Of course.
Right.
I had a client's kid narc him off recently.
Oh, perfect.
The
spy.
It was one of those, I don't know what happened. The jewelry fell out. And the kid's sitting there, and, mom swears up and down that nothing happened. She didn't do anything to it. We got it back in. So there's that good news.
That's
But
rare.
like the kid's sitting there, and he goes, remember, Mom, when you were trying to change it, I told you should wait.
Zing.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so what
Busted.
happened there?
And then that means we've got to guess what happened and try to adjust
It's
without
much
having knowledge that was
easier.
just right there.
Yeah.
You just told us,
and
man.
come up with an instant fix.
Right.
Opposed
Yeah.
to going through a big long. Just be honest.
We're not going to
Yeah.
scold
We know-
you, dude. We're just trying to figure out how to help you.
Yeah.
You
Life
don't even want to know
happens.
the number of mistakes I've made in my life. You made a
Right.
couple, then just own up to it. Say
Yeah,
you're
man.
sorry and
And
move
if
along.
it's the fear of having to pay to get it fixed or whatever, well, then take better care of it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that we don't almost always, fix
Do
it,
it for
fix you
free.
up no matter
Yeah,
what
we stand
happened.
behind our work, but
but geez.
Right.
You're only working against yourself there, pal.
Yeah.
Just
You
take
don't
better
have
care of
to.
it, and then you don't have to.
I've given away so many pieces of jewelry just
Yeah.
basically
Well, yeah.
that I knew the person messed it up. And anyway, but
Which
that's it.
only raises your prices.
Yep.
Well, that's a
You're
good thing
just
about us.
costing other people.
I'm
Like them
horrible on
shoplifters.
stuff, and I'll let Jack tattoo me, and then like knowing that I don't heal stuff well or pay attention to it, we try these new products like the Sandy Derm when we found it and stuff. Let's see if you can not fuck this up. I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, look, I did all my
Is it
horrible stuff,
Jimmy
and it worked out
proof?
great.
Jimmy
Yeah,
Just stick him in a cage with just throw it in there. Like the old
that's how we figured
Samsonite
out.
commercials.
Yeah, well, that's how we figured
The
out.
gorilla.
Some stuff
And
didn't work.
And I used it on myself several times
Oh, yeah,
too
tons of
before
times.
I unleashed it on the clients.
Yeah.
And of course I get that feedback every time they come back. I'm like, we use the sticker stuff on you, right? Yeah. What'd you think of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How'd
I
it do
can
for you?
learn, okay, and what, you left it on 3 days, right? Yeah, 3 days. Okay. Then that builds to my knowledge base and I can compare
Absolutely.
it against my other numbers and go, okay, this stuff is really working out almost always. There's been a couple of these. So those were tattoos that were like this. They had this skin type, and I can start building knowledge about this stuff
Yeah.
and hone it and really get to know it.
Totally.
So, that's half the game is,
Okay.
Yep.
doing
So-
something and then,
Yeah.
learning how it went
Learning
so you
as
can
you
Yeah,
adjust.
go.
learning curve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the way we educate.
Improve.
Research and
Do not bake it in the
just try.
sunlight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vampires are my favorite clients. They're pale. They never see the sun.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
So what about techniques? Like one of my worst ones was a particular tattoo artist thought he was piercer. Came up to me one night at a bar, rather drunk, and he goes, I think I know what's wrong with your techniques. And I'm like, oh, really? That's interesting.
All
What?
of them, huh?
And he goes, you got to put the needle in halfway, then spin it, and then push it in the rest of the way, then spin it.
What?
And I'm like,
Why?
oh, okay. Because that
More of a
way
tissue?
you core it out.
More of an auger effect.
Yeah, nothing like making more scar tissue.
Yeah,
yeah,
Right.
it's like
Bore it out.
cause more trauma.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Oh, Lord.
What about tattoos? Like
Back in the day,
terrible-
I remember before it advanced much. A lot of the really old school tattooers, when they were shading to get like really a subtle shade, they would like use the tattoo machine and like rough up the skin with like water, and then
Yeah.
they would rub the ink. You remember that? And they rub the black ink on it, just by their finger or whatever. And I'm like, I
I've
went to
never
work at a
seen
shop.
that.
I went to work at a shop like years after when I was tattooing, and this old time dude was in there. He's like, "You ever seen this?" And I was like, "Yeah, they stopped doing that for a reason because it's not good.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb."
Yeah.
the one that I always heard all the time was you got to go really deep to get those dark colors.
Nope.
No.
Nope. You
No,
don't press
you gotta
harder.
hit bone.
You don't press harder. You don't run your needles out longer. You don't overwork the skin. And for God's sakes, if you did something with a bunch of really fine line like the stuff nowadays is, if your friend smacks the crap out of it when you're walking out the door, smack the shit out of them because they can ruin your tattoo.
Or charge them for the touch-up if you get charged because
they'll blow lines out and stuff. I've seen lines like just disintegrate.
Yep.
From slapping them. Yeah,
that's the thing. Got to set the ink.
It's in there, dude. It ain't coming out.
You're just causing more trauma to the area and extending the healing process, which opens up more avenues and more chances for that tattoo not to heal well. So you suck.
It's a myth. Bing, busted.
You're mean.
You suck, meanie.
If you want to be cool like that person, just go get a tattoo. Don't hate on them. You know,
don't be jealous. It's cool. Let's tattoo you too.
And let's face it, a crack in the nuts is always funnier.
It is
true. Yeah, and I haven't tattooed nuts in weeks. So you're way less likely to hit a tattoo.
Yeah.
I never get any nut tattoos.
There's rarely tattoos on the nuts.
What's the capital of Thailand? Bangkok.
I've never tattooed nuts, just to set the record clear.
I don't think I have either.
They would be a terrible.
I know all of you out there were wondering.
The skin is horrible.
As somebody who has pierced quite a few of them, quite a few scrotums.
Maybe if they shaved them and Botoxed them and made them all smooth and stuff, it might be tattooable. But
it is designed to expand and contract. That's the whole point of it. To create, because
so how? Yeah, that's like
I don't want to tattoo like a wrinkled up fucking sack.
It's like drawing on
Walmart sack,
a paper sack that's been crumpled up.
Yeah,
and
exactly. It'd be horrible.
I can't imagine what it'd be like.
That's like when girls used to get the lower pelvic tattoos.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, don't you like doing that? I'm like, no, I don't. Mm-hmm. It's made to have babies come out of it, so it stretches. You know how far I got to stretch it to get a tight skin to tattoo it?
Yeah, it's nutty.
I'm feeding it. Good God.
For the longest time, and still it's not one of my favorites, but stomachs were my, damn it.
Mortal enemies.
Where does she want it? Oh, on her stomach. Shit. Damn it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really.
Sure you don't want it somewhere else?
It's it's tricky.
The illusion of freehand being better than stenciled.
Yeah, man.
Freehand. Most of your artists out there, guys, have drawn it freehand, quote, on a piece of paper or another medium like an iPad,
right?
Before they've stenciled it out to make it much easier and the size reference correct and the relations of the eyes are straight, the ears are the same size, instead of just having to draw it on you. Like if you want to pay me to draw a dragon on you for like 5 hours before we start tattooing it, great. But I don't want to do that to you.
That we've progressed past, thank God, because I've been in that situation where the drawing took forever. Half the time the tattoo did.
Well, but that's not to say that there aren't those times where freehand is the thing to do for fitting it and really tailoring it to the body. And usually, more often now, because of the iPad, and I can draw 300 scales and take forever on it and really add more detail in a way, and but I'll use freehand for kind of tucking in the edges and creating maybe background and pulling this out just a bit to make it fit a little better. But there was years and years where I almost did exclusively, unless they brought me in something that was just, this is what I want, and it was like a logo or a family cresty kind of thing. I would freehand everything, but with the iPad and getting to take a picture or even a 3D file now we can do and pull that in and draw on that 3D arm or leg and really kind of get the whole feel of it down.
You can develop it.
It's not as much of a waste of time. And that's the way I looked at it when I was doing a lot of freehand. It's like, I'm wasting all this time drawing it, and then it's not going to fit just right anyway, and I'm going to have to kind of redraw it after I put it on. So I just got into the habit of that. But a good meld between the two, if you can freehand and to tuck it in and really tailor it, and you've got it worked out beforehand, and you've got that good picture. I mean, it helps. It helps a ton.
And most tattoos that you see, most 99.9% of the custom stuff you see, even though they drew it out and developed it further and put it on you, something in that tattoo didn't set just exactly right, and they freehanded it without even saying anything to you. It's got to be done. The background or this, or the hand didn't set right, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Even with the old day Flash, it was more of a point of reference. It had to be adjusted because I don't think people really, without doing it, and piercing, I get kind of an understanding of getting tattooed a lot, is you're drawing something that's perfectly flat, and then it's got a curvature when you put it on, so it's not going to be...
That's why freehanding is so powerful of a tool to have it in your toolbox, because there are times where that's what I would mean by I spend all this time drawing it, and then when it lays on the skin, I can't get it to lay like I wanted it. But with a pen drawing right on whatever it is,
flows.
It tailors it all by itself.
So do you think the prejudice on it comes back to, if it's a stencil, it must be flash?
I think they feel like it's, and I think it's just impressive for a lot of people to watch you draw on someone's body and, make it work. I mean, just watching an artist develop a drawing is impressive, to me, to most people. But to do it on skin and
it's on another level.
I think it just, it's a fun thing to say, this was drawn right on me and then tattooed. There's just a bit of brag rights or makes you feel a little more special about it. But not everyone's like that. But a lot of people do see that as kind of that's cool. That's not just he printed it and just stuck it on there and needed some crutch.
Kind of like watching somebody do like
when it's not about
striping all without doing any masking.
Yeah, they just sit down and just start doing it.
Yeah. And so, some things really benefit and are almost need to be free-handed, and other things really benefit. Like, I'm doing your 87 Harley that your dad gave you.
Right.
Dude, I'm going to stencil that. Do you have any... I try to draw a freaking motorcycle with a ballpoint pen on a white piece of paper and nail it first time. Yeah. I mean, all the circles within circles and spokes and
the chrome.
And the spacing
plus
of
the detail and the nuances of what it is to make it what it is.
So, so if an artist uses a stencil, it doesn't mean that they suck. They're using the tool that's right for that job to get the best result.
And the truth of the matter is, with lots of fine artists, like painters, they actually use projections.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And people don't really realize that.
It keeps your size reference correct, and you're not getting like, the head's really bigger than the body, or the eyes, or this or that.
All that extra is just bragging rights.
Right.
It's what does it look like after the job is done? Because they're not going to know you used a projection. They're not going to know whether you stenciled it or not. They're going to go, that's a good tattoo or a bad tattoo. So having reference there while you're doing something, even if it's a simple, there's nothing wrong.
No.
Olivia, one of the really popular artists, at least back in the day, and all her pinups, those were taken directly from a photo.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's not just pulling that out of her head.
Right. No.
And that takes nothing away from what it took to produce that piece of art.
Yeah.
But some people look at that as kind of cheating or something. So everybody has their own level of what it takes to impress me. Right. But to me, it's about the final result. Yeah. Does it look good? Did you do well or not? I don't care if someone's doing my wood floor and they were reading out of a manual the whole time, but it turned out flawless. Right. Awesome. I don't care. Yeah. That floor looks freaking good. Right. But if some guy comes in and whittles it all with a a knife and makes every slat and charges me 10 times more, that's no benefit to me.
No.
Cool. I'd rather just have it done beautifully. Yeah. So. But people are funny about that.
Well, I've had a lot of customers ask lately, and they don't realize a lot of time what goes into it. Like, oh, you drew it on iPad. Like, yeah, here you go. And the great thing about them is it keeps a record. You can hit the replay video, and they'll watch you like, oh, you just drew this up. Like, yeah. Oh, and at the end it's like, oh, you spent 26 hours on it. Yeah. Before I ever tattooed you, to develop every nuance that I wanted to put into it, and because it didn't start out that way.
We have posted some of those drawing things.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people get a kick out of them.
Yeah, you start drawing a snake, and you're like, okay, cool. Here's the head, here's the body, here's the scales, blah, blah. Oh, well, what if it had it was coming through the trees, and you got a branch here, and then you put this there, and there's that there, and there's you keep adding because it keeps inspiring you.
The look on people's faces when you show them those videos are the best, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, how, because they really don't have a frame of reference how long it would take to come up with some of these pieces that we do. And when you show them that it's 12 or 10 or 20 some or whatever, how many hours, the look on their face is like, they had no clue, how much time we spend behind the scenes, just like that your favorite band that's up there performing for 30 minutes, that hundreds and hundreds of hours just to do that. Unless you've done it, you don't have a frame of reference. So being able to prove and show them on this device that the time you spent on it is, it's pretty sobering for some people.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
it is.
Because a lot of customers ask, like, oh, how long do y'all work? Y'all are like here, like, what, 1 to 8? That's pretty awesome. I'm like, well, I get here at 12. We open at 1. I tattoo till 8. And then from 8 o'clock until about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, me and Jack and Brent, a lot of us will stay here and we'll draw on the next day's stuff or whatever is coming up. That, and then I'll go home and then I'll draw on it for another few hours, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh,
that's
really?
It just occurred to me that's the curse of having an iPad.
Yes.
Because
you
can
take it
home with you.
You don't have an excuse not to be working on it because hey, you're taking a crap? Too bad. You've got your drawing studio right there, you know.
It's really hard
You're
to put it
sitting at
down.
home? No. You know, but before you had to have your studio to have all of the equipment that you needed as far as templates and sharpeners and pens and pencils and
Light
everything
tables
else
and
that
all
goes
that.
along with it, that, hey, you had to turn it off. You had to leave it at work at some point.
Right.
And now
You don't.
you can't.
And that little
You
thing,
got to learn.
and that wonderful tool that the iPhones and iPads and stuff have, I don't know if Droids do or not, but it tells you your screen time this week is like,
Yeah,
boy, has
no.
mine changed. Mine used to be like a few hours a week. I'd, call somebody or text somebody or whatever and browse something. Now that I'm like on Procreate, that thing's like, you've been on the iPad for 47 hours.
need
this
a
week."
12-step
I'm like,
program.
yeah. You need help.
Here's some references.
You got eyeball cancer.
We are shutting down your iPad for 2 days for
You
your
need
own
to take
good.
a sleep.
It's coming, people.
Yeah, and
freaking out.
that can really affect your sight.
Oh, it does. I wear glasses now.
Yeah, it shreds mine.
Yeah, I wish what they need to do is they need to come out with something like the Kindles. That's funny. The weird thing
They
about
do have
Kindles,
that.
But they got the blue glasses and stuff that like protects your eyes from the light and all
the,
that.
the difference between the Kindle White, and they may not be able to do it in color. In that
Yeah,
maybe.
that's the drawback.
The light reflects onto the screen instead of out to you.
Yeah, there's not a light bulb that you're staring at. It's
Yeah.
not backlit. It's,
that's cool.
Yeah,
It's
but you can't do it in the
Weird.
dark.
No.
You can't do it
would
while you're
suck.
laying in bed
Oh,
falling
you can
asleep.
read.
Not in the dark.
But you can't draw it.
because it's not backlit. You have to have a light.
Well, no. This has actually the screen, the glass
Shines
has light
against
that
it.
projects
Oh,
down
to it?
the screen.
All right.
Instead of having it the other
so
way
it's
around.
reverse illuminated. It's
Yeah.
not backlit. It's front lit, I guess.
Yeah,
My wife
can
asked me
they
that the
create
other
a
day.
brace that like while you're laying down in bed that you can?
Oh, they
draw
got it.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, so it holds it for you.
But holding up your
Yeah.
arm, unless you've got
Oh,
the pillow
yeah.
just right.
yeah, I want a little
Yeah.
rig that holds my arm so I can just draw.
Yeah.
And drop your pencil on your face.
And right in
Yep.
your freaking eye.
Right in your
Yeah,
eyeball.
Yeah.
always in the eye.
Every time.
The other night, my wife
why
was
you
like,
wear
"Oh,
safety
you're getting up to
glasses.
go draw again?" Like I'm like, "Well, I've got tomorrow I work and I've got to have this ready. It's not quite there." She's like, "Well, can you maybe do it in here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can figure out and put some pillows around to set up the draw." And she's like, "Well, can you do it with the music off and the lights out?" And I'm like, "No, like come on, dude.
No.
You want me to draw in the dark in the silence? No,
Doesn't
not
work like
happening.
that.
Not happening, dude."
Yeah. Thank God we love it. It's
Oh, yeah.
not like going home and smacking yourself in the face with a hammer for 6 hours.
Well, we stay here because this place feels like home. You've put a
Yeah.
lot of effort and thank
Yeah.
you into making this place where, like, when I leave home, I don't feel like I've left home when I get here. I'm at home.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't yearn to go home because hell, I'm at home when I'm here.
Yeah, I like it too because it's just got that, that energy in it. You've got all these people being creative and, in this space, it kind of just has this seasoning. It pulls just maybe
Yes.
just that little more out or,
It's like our own mini convention, like what I mean. That
Kinda,
goes on.
yeah.
It's
And like I like
inspiring.
how we do. I've got a customer came in once. I want a polka dotted zebra with a lion attacking it in Fantasia, and I'm like, how the hell? And I tell you two guys, and both of you start sketching, and then like all three of us sketch,
Yeah.
and then we compare them at the end, and we're like, oh shit, that's a great way. I didn't even think about looking at it like that. Like
sometimes you need a jump start.
yeah, you need that, and that I feed off of it. I love it.
Yeah, you need that spark or that push down the hill and pop that clutch a little bit, and then you're like, boom, okay, now it flows.
Yeah, because I'm only seeing it one way, and then you two
Right.
guys come at a totally different angles, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't even see those streets.
Yeah, it's
Crap, that's awesome.
It's a big benefit, and
Yeah,
I think
dude.
any group of artists in the shop, it's probably not real common now, but I know before people are way more protective of their tricks and their
Yeah, like doing homework or taking a test. They got their arm up.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
don't be looking.
that's like one of the reasons we were talking about aftercare. I think in part was
Nobody wanted to know what worked. They didn't want to share.
Yeah,
it.
they
nobody
didn't want
was
to share
sharing.
with anybody.
Yeah, and again, if the client's coming back and not being straight with, well, I did this and did that, and really wanting to get to the bottom of getting a better heel next time, and they're embarrassed or they're afraid of cost or whatever, that's only extending the timeline of getting
Of
to
learning.
So. It just so much helps to have that wealth of knowledge. That's why there's really no comparison to just time on the job, and experiencing all
apprenticeship.
these different things that are going to occur.
Yeah.
And you could, plumb or tattoo or do whatever for a lifetime, and you're still not going to run into everything.
Yeah. Nope.
That's why if you've got a buddy who has, and he's going, hey, I've run into this and I did this and it's getting better. Boom.
I think that's the
only
thing that
helps
people
everybody.
miss these days. Like in the apprenticeship, it only took him like just a few weeks to teach me the basics of blah blah blah. Well, yeah, but all that other experience you got for the rest of that apprenticeship, and like how to interact with people, how to handle customers that are going to be, because you're going to have a customer that's hard to deal with. You're going to have a situation that's odd. You're going to have shit's going to come up.
How to know when something's
and how
gone wrong,
to deal with it. Right.
And how to fix it.
That's what you're learning, is that experience, that knowledge of how to deal and how to carry yourself, how to react.
Yep.
And a lot of people these days don't this information network highway we have. Well, I read from A to B in the book, and that's all there is A to B.
They know how to start it, and they know where the gas is, and that's all they care about.
But you don't know what to do if something runs in front of you, or the rain's real hard, or
how to shift gears or anything else. But you can make it go. Yeah,
totally.
you can drive a car. But not good.
Right.
One of the important parts of going through an apprenticeship is learning discipline and work ethic.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because
100%.
and not everybody gets that.
Nope.
It's not an excuse to be lazy. And I think the people that have a hard time with it and aren't happy with tattooing, much like maybe a teacher who thinks having summers off of school and teaching really isn't much of a job, they get disillusioned really fast, and then they start holding that against the profession. It's not the profession's fault. It just wasn't what you thought it was or what you wanted it to be.
It's like better celebrities and rock stars.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
The reality,
really gather what that's, when you're 14 and you're buying your first guitar or whatever, your fantasy is, when you actually, if you make it there, there's a lot of things about it that suck.
Oh, yeah. But not only that, like, you've got this idea of what being a rock star is and what it takes to get there, and the reality of what it is to get there and be there is a whole nother thing.
Again, you've seen the 30 minutes on stage. You haven't seen the 30 hours it took just to do that one.
You didn't see the 3 hours
good
or the 3
is
years.
going to be work. It's going to take effort.
Absolutely.
And just thinking that, you got there, well,
if you're doing something and you feel like it's consuming you to learn it, you're on the right
almost
path.
there.
You're on the right path.
Almost.
And if you have a job where you feel like you're never finished,
Yep. You're on the right
probably-
direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Always a student, never a master.
because I was explaining to somebody the other day, they're like, "Oh, you only work those hours?" And I'm like, "You don't understand. For the minute I walk in the building, no matter what time that is, I have something I need to be doing."
Yep.
Like, there was times in my career where I could probably sit back and play a video game occasionally or something. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
And on the way home, you're thinking about all the stuff that you didn't get to that you still need to do.
And and wondering what I can do on the laptop.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't leave.
How early do I got to be there tomorrow to get some of the stuff I didn't get done today done that needs to be done?
Yeah, it's like I spent all last weekend setting up this purchase order of this jewelry order I did.
Yeah.
And getting it into the inventory system.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a lot of behind the scenes work that a lot of people don't take. They don't see. They don't know.
Yeah, and they,
accountants
we're all guilty of that, I guess, of looking at someone in a profession that it looks like they're having the time of their life and they're making great money or whatever it is. They've got something that you want by doing what they do, and it looks super easy.
Yeah.
We've all, at one point, been jealous of that and went, man, screw that. They
But
don't
looking back,
deserve that, or that's too much or whatever. You have no frame of reference for what they are going through and what they went through to be that person.
and a key mark of somebody who does make it look like, oh man, you do envy that. That's a sign that somebody's put a lot of hard work in, and because they're good at making you see only the fun, good part of it.
Right. Making it look easy.
Like, yeah,
That's
they make
one of
it
the
look
reasons
easy.
why
Exactly.
I don't like to be videotaped when I'm piercing, because I make it look easy.
Oh, yeah. True.
And it's just...
Yeah, because you've done it so long.
Yeah.
And you'll make people think, oh, I can
there's
do
nothing
that.
to that.
And then
That's
the next thing you know.
Just inserting that needle,
I had customers say that, like when back in the street shop days when I was doing like a little name or something. Like it takes me like 4 or 5 minutes to write a name on you with a tattoo machine. Like, because I've drawn letters for 20-something years. And they're like, oh, well, I got to pay $50 for that? Well, like, yeah, but it only took you 2 minutes. That's because I've taken 20 years or so to develop how to do that way in that time.
Yeah, like I could have
You're
stretched
paying
it
for that
out.
experience.
I could have
I mean,
put you in
yeah.
discomfort and taken more of the time of your day just to do it, to make you feel like you're getting a value. Again, it's what the outcome is that matters. Whether it took
What
me
you
6
perceive.
seconds or 6 days, it looks perfect.
Right.
And that's the process to get there.
That's what you're paying for.
You're
That
not
end
paying.
product.
If you're paying to get it done quick or take forever, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you're paying to get it done the best that the person can possibly do, then
And
come
that's what I
here.
do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, it's just a simple tattoo.
Yeah, it's an
It's gonna
easy
be super
one.
simple. I just want like
Super
the
simple.
outline
It'll
of a
take 5
house with some
minutes.
shingles and some bricks and some
And I-
little
And I want it
flowers
this
up front.
big.
And I want it all in 3 inches.
And I wonder why, if it's that easy, why don't you do it yourself?
Yeah, it's only tracing.
Her wife
Yeah.
charged
I've heard
I've heard
that
that.
one, and I do make the joke like when people ask me, but it is really at the root of the reason why I've never really just even considered tattooing. Is I'll make the joke that I didn't like coloring as a kid.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I don't have that drive that you guys do to sit down for 4.5 to
develop and make
27
it.
hours
Yeah.
to draw something out. I'd make the outline and go, hey,
I'm over it.
There it is. It's a brick.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to sit there and shade off every corner.
I heard a guy say that one time. He's like, I don't know why it's so hard about what you do. You just every drawing is just a bunch of lines. I'm like, but it's how the lines go together.
Yeah.
Whether it looks like a chick's beautiful face or like a steaming pile of poop
Yeah.
with corn in it with flies flying around it, dude.
And it's the same way with piercing. It's like a lot of people look at it and they're just like, it just looks really easy.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, there's a difference between where I'm going to put this and where you would put this.
It's
Well,
a perception thing.
yeah.
Like sometimes people just don't have that. You
No,
know
that's it.
that,
Yep.
that it's hard for them to picture. I guess from that
Well,
point of view.
And Chris Garver on Miami Inc., and I referenced this so far back because I watched Miami Inc., and then there was Hart and Huntington that came out. Those were the first two shows that I was aware of on TV. I watched both of their first two seasons just to check it out because there had never been anything like that, and I haven't watched any since. But this really jumped out to me, and it hit me. It was one of those things that hits you kind of funny at first, and then when you think about it, you love it. You're like,
Yeah.
oh. The camera guy or someone on while he was tattooing says, man, that looks really easy. And he goes, if you know what you're doing, it is.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember that.
But that's the part. You got to know what you're doing. And that takes a lot.
And we've all had that experience where we break something on our car or the toilet or what have you, and we sit there and try to fix it.
Yeah.
Right.
And the more you fix it, the more
The worse it
broke it
gets.
becomes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you finally call an expert, and the expert comes in, and in 2 minutes they fixed
Whips
it.
it up.
Yeah. I'd
Yeah.
love for people to be able to go back and see, like when I was an apprentice and I'm in the back tattooing on a piece of fat back or a melon, and I'm just like sweating profusely and like, oh God, oh, I messed up there. Oh God, oh no, I wasn't supposed to do that. Oh no, like,
Yeah.
all that time before I ever could sit down and like on a customer and put something on them confidently and successfully. Like there was a long, long journey. I remember sitting in the back thinking, I'm never gonna learn all of this
And
stuff
this-
that I have to learn to do this.
The sleep
like
lost
it's just impossible.
and just-
yeah.
yeah.
It's more than becoming a doctor. This is unreal.
And it
you
really
know?
goes with everything. People will say, man, I wish I could draw like that. I go,
Practice.
You can.
You can if you have the
I said-
drive to practice.
I said, you just don't want to draw like that enough to do it.
Yep.
I bet you would love to learn to play guitar. A lot of people would. You can. It's
Right.
just not important enough.
To put
You
the
don't
time
want
in.
to bad enough to do it. That's
Yeah.
all. And
Yep.
that's not
Yeah.
wrong or right. We can
No,
only do
it's
so
just-
many things. But you have to understand, if you want something, if you want to be a race car driver, you can.
Yeah.
I want to go fast.
You just have to go do it, and you have to want it bad enough to get kicked in the nuts as much as it's going to take, no matter how many it is,
Exactly.
Yeah.
to get it. So
Yeah.
I wasn't born with this magic ability to just draw something and and someone liked it. Maybe some people do, and that's awesome. But me, I had to teach myself and learn.
I had to work at it.
to do it. And so where I come from, and from my point of view, I wanted it bad enough.
Yeah.
Was willing to. It was that reward. I had been asked nothing that was overpriced to get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Where some people, oh man, it'd be cool to be an astronaut. Then then
be
go
an
be a
astronaut.
freaking astronaut. You just
Yeah.
don't want. It's not that they're special or talented or anything else. They whatever it is inside them wanted that bad
They're-
enough
yeah.
that they became that.
What
They're
I
willing
think-
to put the time and effort in.
It wasn't
Right.
Yeah,
luck.
and part of it is like I'll usually, it's like, well, I don't know how you go about doing that. And it's like, well, okay, well, then do the freaking research.
Well, in our day, you had to
And
go
you'll
find
find
a
out.
library and
Yeah.
read a book or find somebody that
Yeah,
did it that
it
would talk
did.
to you and not throw you out of the shop.
Had to go to
But
Chicago
these days,
or
shit, you can
someplace to get.
Google books, the internet. Like the information is just infamous
Yeah.
Right.
now. To start finding stuff out. But yeah, it kind of makes sense now. When I was a kid growing up, I remember my mom and dad always be like, you can do or be anything you want to be.
If you'll
And
put
I used to
enough
think,
effort.
well,
true.
I can't be an astronaut or a rock star.
Yeah,
yes,
you
you
can.
can.
Yeah, you can.
If you're willing to buckle down and do the work and do what it takes and required of you to do that, and you're willing to put that effort and time in, then you can.
Yeah.
That's the big question, though. Are you willing to sacrifice going out and riding your bicycle with your buddies to study and do the test? Are you willing to sit at home and draw when everybody else is at the swimming pool? Are you, what is it that you want to do, and are you willing to pay the price for it?
It's that drive and desire.
Yeah.
It's how much you value
You
it.
got to want it, man.
And paying that price may be something that you're not willing to give up.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I
nothing wrong
think
with
most
that.
people don't figure out.
And that might be sitting on the couch doing nothing, blaming everybody else. That might be what you value, which is what you're getting, what you need for as much as you're willing to pay.
Right.
Even though you'd want to do all these things, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth what that costs.
Yeah.
You know,
or becoming somebody you don't want to be or you look down on.
Yeah.
because other people value that a lot, and then you go through everything it took to get there just to get what you wanted from the people that thought you were going to be great for doing that, and you're going to left wanting. You're going to left hollow and empty, and you're going to resent all those people because they didn't give you that feeling that you need to feel like you have worth and value.
You didn't chase what you wanted.
And that is your lesson today, folks.
Yep.
Well,
go for your dreams.
Nuggets of knowledge right here at Skin Kitchen.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's like
Pass the LSD, man.
it's like at least one drunken conversation with Paul. He was trying to get me to join Slipknot.
Yep.
And the thing that popped in my head is I don't want to be in a metal band.
Right.
Now I could have done that. I could have, I don't know whether or not anything would have came out of it, but I could have toured the world with him, possibly.
Yeah.
But I no.
I had that same thing happen with Clown.
It's like I don't want to be in a metal band.
Yeah. Before they had Chris Vane, they were looking for that second op percussionist, and I was tattooing him, and he was talking about it, and he goes, "Do you drum? Do you?" And I go, "Yeah, I mean, I can keep a beat, and I have timing and all that." And he goes, "Well, dude, you come try out, man. We need another blah blah blah." And I'll tell some people that story, and they'll look at me like, "Why the fuck aren't you in Slipknot right now?"
Yeah.
Because it would have been cool to be an astronaut, but I didn't want it that bad, or I would have been an astronaut or the guy in Slipknot that banged on the other drum. Obviously I wanted to tattoo more. And
and you would have had, like me, I would have probably eventually give up piercing.
Right. Yeah, totally.
At the time I was doing a lot of live music promotions. I would have had given that up.
Wasn't worth the cost.
My kid was
young,
2, so I'd be out of his life for 2 years at a time, with maybe a break of about 4 weeks here and there.
Yeah.
It's just, it was too much for me to give.
There's a lot of payments besides just the time and your effort into things. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you want to be an astronaut? Great. You're going to sacrifice a lot of things in your life to be able to put that time and effort in to do that. Or, and that's where it is for people. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to walk away from $100,000 job, a year job, and sleep on a table in a couch in a tattoo shop to learn how to tattoo? Because you've already made it to this, but this is only what you want to do. Okay, cool. Well, to do this, you got to put all this time and effort into it. Are you willing to give all that up to come do this?
It's the same thing as college or an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
That's, 90%, 95% of what you study and learn in college, you don't use no matter what your profession is.
Nope.
No.
That is just the hoops to show these people that have the knowledge to teach you. Okay, they're committed. They walk through that fire. They really want it, and they're going to respect it.
Yep.
And that's what an apprenticeship is they're going to put you through the trials. They're going to see if you got it. They're going to see how bad you want it.
Yeah.
Before they're going to unlock the doors of this
the
to
knowledge.
you. So it's not straight up to torture you. It's hoops, because guess what? There's more people than just you that want to be a tattoo guy or a tattoo girl or a doctor or a lawyer or anything else.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure that out of all these people,
you're the
how
one.
bad do you want it? Because you're going to be the best of those people that go, man, it'd be cool, but
I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Right. They're throwing butts at you and butts at you. And if you come through all that, like through your apprenticeship after, you've been, used and treated and abused as you might think, there's a reason for that, because you're not worth their time if you can't go through that. Show me how bad you want it. Yeah. And if you're offended by it and you think it's bullshit, that worked because you did not want it.
Yep.
And you're going to pay
That's what it's
for
there
it.
for.
Right.
You're going to pay for it in relationships because it will affect it.
It affects everything in your life.
And you have to have that crystal clear focus.
Yeah, you got to have that dedication to stay on task and keep true to it, know?
You're not getting taught how to run a register.
Right. It's just like boot camp kind of, you break them down in your heart on them to see who can't do this.
Exactly.
There's a reason, like, if I can't afford to get you all the way here to where I'm at and then have you break down, I can't do this. I've wasted numerous amount of time, effort, and resources on you. You've wasted your time, effort, and resources to do nothing, to wind up in zero because you can't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
And a lot
Neither
of the
one of us
things
benefited.
I asked you to do, that wasn't to teach you shit.
No.
It was to teach me
Yeah.
who you are and if
Exactly.
you've
Yeah.
got it. You know,
Yeah.
it's an interview. You know, it's an interview that
It's a
goes on as
tryout.
long as it has to for you to
Absolutely.
show the person that you're worth
The time
possibly
and the
years
effort.
of
These days,
training
you I'll
investment.
hear this a lot from apprentices. Well, I don't make enough money, or I don't. All right, it's when you're an apprentice, you're not doing this to make a living or money. You got to survive, yes, but
you're getting knowledge.
the knowledge that you are learning to do your craft, that's your payment. That's what you're going to carry on, and you can do this job anywhere in the world, anywhere, anyhow, without anybody else to holding your hand.
And the last-
that's what you're getting paid with.
It's a trade.
It's a college. It's a trade school.
And worth way more than money, but
Yeah, it's
you
worth
got to
more than all the
grind it
money in the
out.
world.
Usually,
Yeah.
do another job on the side and sacrifice sleep.
I remember
sacrifice
doing that a lot.
family.
I delivered pizzas, ran,
Jesus,
all kinds of stuff.
The number of part-time jobs I had.
Yeah, I had like
starting
3 or
out.
4 part-time jobs when I was apprenticing.
I cooked
Well,
at 2 restaurants.
Yeah,
And
the
I was
last
a world-renowned
time,
DJ when I left that to do that.
the last time somebody hit me up and they were like going, "Oh, I can't afford to do this any longer." I'm like, "So if you're going to college for 4 years, what the hell would you do?
Yeah, you cop out or what?
Get a cost of living loan? Take on a part-time job?
That's the thing. They don't
It's
want to
the
deliver
same
pizza or
thing
work
here.
at McDonald's
It's the same thing
to
here.
get through.
It's the damn kids these days.
I mean, a lot of people don't. That's that sacrifice we talked about.
Yeah.
Well,
It took a lot for me. I had to swallow some pride to deliver pizzas from being like ranked in the top 10 DJs in Vegas to delivering pizzas from my mother's pizza shop so I could afford to pay for a place to stay, to crash on a couch, to learn how to tattoo.
yeah, what's funny is I went back to delivering pizzas and I was really nostalgic about it until I actually started doing it and I'm like, God, this job.
You're like, what
This
am I
sucked.
doing? Yeah, this sucked now and this sucks then.
What
and
was
now
I
too.
thinking?
It was like when you think back to high school for a lot of people, and it was like, man, it was so simpler
Oh, no.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, you just don't remember as much of the shit.
Well, and you start thinking, you're like, God, have I really not gone anywhere? Here I am delivering pizzas again. Like after all the shit I've gone through and done, I'm delivering pizzas again. Like Jesus.
I think that was your calling then. Yeah, it just kept sucking you back in. Obviously, it scratches your itch.
It's just
that
in
you-
But
there.
see, and that's always the difference between a job and a career.
So we got to wrap
Careers
this up.
take-
I got to go work for Pizza
Yeah.
Hut in a minute. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
careers take work.
It
Yeah.
does. It's a lot of
They
effort.
take sacrifices.
It really does. But the
And they're
rewards
usually-
are awesome.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, if you can make it that long.
And you have to learn that early on and just deal with it
Yeah.
or find
And
something
even
else
if
to
you
do.
work that as hard as you had to get what you thought you wanted and it wasn't it, you still have to have pride in yourself that I wanted it and I got it.
You did it.
Yeah, it didn't quite get that
Work
itch.
out the way you
but
wanted.
I'm gonna go do with that. What I think is
Yeah.
now not only just to prove I can, because that might be what really opens up my life and what my
Right.
passion really is. So you can't lose.
No,
You know?
and if it wasn't your thing, guess what? You still got the knowledge of it. You still got that to fall back on. You
Yeah.
still got that in your arsenal to use to your benefit.
and prove that you can get it.
yeah, and you've got the aptitude that you've learned that you can do. You've got the stick to. You can do this. You can do
And-
anything you want.
and take what you learned getting there. It's like a lot of people, if their desire is, the more money they make, the more successful they are or something. If they have a successful business, well, I'm going to open up another one. And that's going to
Yeah.
be way easier because I've done it and I know I can do it. Now, it's still the same hurdles and hoops, but not only do I kind of know those hurdles and hoops because I've been there before, but I've done it before.
Yeah.
So it gets easier each time you do it because you've proven to yourself
Yeah.
it's obtainable. So it gets easier every time, and then you have a bunch of businesses.
Yeah.
It's really
I can't remember who said it, but it was like some financial advisor, like he does a lot of investment. But he said, I want to invest in people that haven't failed at least once.
No,
right. Oh, me
Yeah.
either.
You got
And it's like you learn more sometimes from that experience than you would ever. from
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
making
you
a
have to
mistake.
fail.
Yeah, making a mistake is
Yeah.
very educational.
Yeah.
It's the best education.
It
Best way to
is.
learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you're not so apt to do that later. Like, you don't success. Oh, I had one setback. Everything falls apart and I lose
Yeah.
everything because, I've never failed.
Right.
That's not going to teach you anything.
Yeah, you're not going to even believe that it's your fault.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be someone else's fault.
be
I've
something else.
always done it right. I'm always
Yep.
perfect. Everything I've done, I've succeeded. I've gotten a ribbon every time.
Yeah.
So what screwed me this time?
trophy this time?
No, life is mostly fails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but at the same time, they
Set up that
they
way.
do learn this stuff from their parents, and part of the reason why they
Used
learn
to.
it from their parents, this attitude, this idea of not being wrong, is because their parents won't admit that they're wrong when they are wrong.
Yeah, man. Just
because you can't beat them anymore.
Well, yeah.
Anyway. Well, you can legally. You just
own your mistakes, people. Be accountable for yourself, and nobody can hold you back but you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You can learn to play guitar, you loser.
God, we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes.
There you go. There's your long podcast.
That felt really long. That felt.
Yeah,
that's what she said.
I think we should wrap this one up.
Okay,
Long
go away, people.
Stay off
thin.
my yard.
And this is the final episode of season 3. We'll be starting season 4 next
We went
month.
out with a bang.
Yeah, that was a long
and
one.
gun noises.
And kids
Gun
on the
noises.
grass.
Pew, pew, pew.
Okay, I wanna go home now.
So if you like this, give us a likes, give us a thumbs ups, and
I gotta
that
pee.
stuff. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, or just subscribe where you're listening. Also, check out our merch store, stuff to buy. Until next time, here's hoping all your tattoos and piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, hope to see if your body piercing or in tattooing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys. Be
Bye,
good to
guys.
each other.
Don't pick it.